Am I the jerk for not wanting to go to my dad's place anymore because he always takes his girlfriend and her daughter's side over mine? So I'm a 15-year-old girl, and my parents share custody of me, which means sometimes I'm at my mom's house, and sometimes I'm at my dad's. It's kind of random when I switch between houses. About a year ago, my dad started dating this woman named Emma, and she has a daughter, Sarah, who's about 12 or 13 years old. Emma and Sarah started hanging out at my dad's place a lot. They have their own apartment, but it seems like they're always over at his house. The first time they stayed the night when I was there, I woke up in the middle of the night to find Sarah in my bed. Emma brought this cot bed thing for Sarah to sleep on, but for some reason, Sarah ended up in my bed instead. I wasn't cool with that, so I made her leave my bed. But then my dad and Emma got upset with me. They said I was being mean, and that since I have a bed already, I should share it. There's also this super comfy chair in the living room at my dad's place that I got as a gift. I love that chair, and it's supposed to come with me when I move out. But Sarah always wants to sit in it, and even if I get to it first, my dad tells me to give it up to her because they're guests. So here's the deal. I often end up sitting on the floor at my dad's place. Why? Well, it's because my dad loves chilling in his special reclining chair, and Emma, she sprawls all over the sofa like it's her bed or something. Because of this, I usually just hang out in my room instead. It's not like I enjoy sitting on the floor, right? Who would? It feels like I'm a pet or something, and I'm not about that life. My dad, he tries to get me to come and sit with them. He calls me into the living room, but honestly, why should I go sit on the floor? That doesn't sound fun at all. He thinks I'm just being a typical difficult teenager, but I don't see it that way. I mean, I was out with my mom before coming over to his place. We even did some fun stuff together before she dropped me off at dad's. Oh, and guess what? My mom got me this super cool blanket. It's got my favorite sports team on it. I was so pumped about it. I mean, I couldn't wait to snuggle up with it. Sounds a bit silly getting excited over a blanket, right? But it was awesome to me. So I brought it over to my dad's house because I wanted to use it there. But here's the kicker. My dad made me share it with Sarah. He said it wasn't fair that I got something new and Sarah didn't. It's like everything I get, I have to share. It's the same old story with pretty much anything cool that comes my way. So when Sarah gets her hands on something cool, my dad always says, "That's Sarah's, she got it, so she decides what happens with it." And if Sarah doesn't feel like sharing, she doesn't have to. No questions asked. Like, this one time, Sarah was reading a book of mine. It was one of my favorites. Suddenly, Emma and my dad started having this big argument. Emma was so upset she wanted to leave right then and there. Sarah, seeing all the drama, decided she wanted to take my book with her. I was like, no way, because I didn't want her to leave with my book. My dad got super mad at me. He was like, just let her take the book. In the end, Emma and my dad made up, and I got my book back. But I kept thinking, what if they hadn't made up? I would have lost one of my favorite books for good. Now about ice fishing. It's been this special thing between my dad and me since I was 7. Just the two of us, hanging out and ice fishing together. But this time, he decides to bring Emma and Sarah along. And guess what? They spent the whole time complaining. It was supposed to be our father and me time, and it just wasn't the same with them there, especially with all the whining. Update. So after all that mess with my dad, Emma, and Sarah, yeah, you remember the whole me feeling like an outsider in my own dad's house? I decided I was done. I was seriously done putting myself in situations where I felt more like a guest than his daughter. But just when you think you've seen it all, life throws you a curveball that makes you rethink everything. A couple of weeks after I decided to take a break from visiting my dad, my grandpa, Dad's dad, reached out to me. Now, Grandpa's always been this quiet type, you know? Not one to get involved in drama or take sides. But this time, he said he wanted to talk. Just him and me, no parents involved. I was hesitant at first, but curiosity got the better of me, so I agreed. We met up at this little diner he loves, the kind with the best milkshakes in town. It felt weird, sitting there with him, knowing we were about to dive into some heavy stuff. But Grandpa, in his calm way, just started talking about life, family, and how sometimes adults make mistakes trying to do what they think is right. He didn't excuse my dad's behavior, but he made me see that maybe, just maybe, my dad was struggling with how to blend his new family with his old one, me. The real kicker? Grandpa had talked to my dad before our meetup. He told me that my dad was genuinely sorry for how things had gone down. He'd been so caught up in trying to make Emma and Sarah happy, he didn't realize he was pushing me away. My dad wanted to make it right, but didn't know how to start. Grandpa suggested something so simple, yet so perfect, it almost made me laugh. A father-daughter camping trip, just like we used to do before Emma and Sarah came into the picture. I won't lie, I was skeptical, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. This could be our chance to fix things, or at least start to. So, I took a leap of faith and agreed. Fast forward to the camping trip. It was awkward at first, painfully so, but as we set up the tent, went fishing, and sat around the campfire, something shifted. We started talking, really talking about everything, how I felt, how he felt, and how we could move forward. It wasn't an instant fix, but it was a start. But here's where the drama kicks in again. Halfway through our trip, who shows up unannounced? Emma and Sarah. Turns out, my dad hadn't been entirely upfront with them about the purpose of our trip. Emma thought it was a good idea for them to surprise us and join in. Surprise? Yeah, you could say I was surprised, all right. Furious is more like it. This could have been the moment everything fell apart again. But something unexpected happened. My dad stood up for our time together. He explained to Emma that this trip was about repairing our relationship, something long overdue. And to my utter shock, Emma understood. She apologized to me, something I never thought I'd see, and they left, giving us the space we needed. The rest of the trip was a blur of emotions, conversations, and surprisingly, healing. When we got back, things weren't perfect, but they were better. My dad started setting boundaries with Emma and Sarah, making sure our father-daughter time was respected. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I didn't have to compete for my dad's attention. As for Emma and Sarah, well, it's a work in progress. There are still moments of tension and awkwardness, but there's also an effort being made, which is more than I could have hoped for. So, am I the jerk for not wanting to go to my dad's before? I don't think so, but I've learned that sometimes taking a step back is what you need to move forward. And maybe, just maybe, there's a chance for us to be a family, not just a dad and his daughter living separate lives. Next story. Am I the jerk for telling my stepsister that we're not friends and putting my mom in a catch-22? So, here's the scoop. My mom decided it was a good idea to move her new fiancé into our house last year. To be totally honest, I'm not exactly his biggest fan. My real dad lives in another country, and when I mentioned maybe I'd like to go live with him instead, my mom got really upset. She made a big scene, crying and all that, so she made me a deal. She said if I stayed, my soon-to-be stepdad wouldn't be allowed to boss me around or anything. All I had to do was be polite to him. That seemed fair enough to me. Now this guy, he's got 2 daughters. May, who's my age, 17, and June, who's a bit younger, 15. June and I, we get along all right. She doesn't bother me much. But May, she's in the same grade as me at school, and well, she's a bit of a challenge. Imagine being paired up with someone for a project who's super awkward, doesn't really get the best grades, and gets upset about pretty much everything. That's May for you. And for whatever reason, she doesn't seem to have any friends of her own. So as soon as our parents started getting serious and talking about getting married, May started clinging to me like she was desperate for a friend. And I mean really clinging like she's some kind of leech and I can't shake her off. It's been pretty annoying, to be honest. So before my soon-to-be stepfamily moved into our house, I had a pretty easy time staying away from May at school. See, we're not in the same classes. She's in easier ones than I am. Despite that, she kept trying to be my friend, sending me friend requests and messages on social media. But I wasn't really interested, so I just ignored them. It was simple enough when she wasn't right in my face all the time. But then, her family moved in with us, and suddenly, May was everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Trying to chat me up nonstop, following me around the house, just constantly trying to be part of whatever I was doing. It felt like she was just too much. Always there, talking, and I couldn't get a moment of peace. I'm super into sports, right? And part of that means I have to train a lot, pretty much every single day. It's a big deal for me. May, on the other hand, she's not exactly what you'd call athletic. But when she mentioned to our parents that she was interested in getting fit, they thought it'd be a great idea for her to come to the gym with me. I wasn't thrilled, but I figured, how bad could it be? Turns out pretty bad. She was asking a million questions about how everything works, and she got tired super fast. Like, we were barely a quarter of the way through my workout routine, and she was already done. It was exhausting, not just for her, but for me too, trying to keep up with all her questions and make sure she was okay. Then last weekend, I hit my breaking point. I had a friend coming over after training to hang out and play some video games, just chill for a bit, you know? And out of nowhere, May just invites herself into my room, without even asking if it was cool. That was the last straw for me. I had to tell her straight up that I didn't invite her to hang out with us and that it was pretty rude to just barge in like that. I mean, everyone needs their own space, right? And it felt like she was just not getting that at all. So, after I told May she couldn't hang out with us, she got super upset and started crying. Then she went and complained to her dad, my stepdad-to-be. He came into my room and basically ordered us to let her play with us. I was like, no way, and reminded him that he's not supposed to boss me around. My mom and he had an agreement about that. This made him really angry. After that, we all had to sit down for a big family meeting. My stepdad accused me of being a bully, but I stood my ground and told him the truth, that May keeps trying to force her way into situations where she's clearly not wanted. I was honest with him. I said she's not my friend and never will be, and it'd be best if she just stayed out of my way for the little time I have left at home before I move out. This whole situation made my mom really stressed. She doesn't like conflict. But then, my stepdad started threatening to break up with her if she didn't discipline me. That's when I told my mom straight up, if she sides with him and tries to punish me for this, I'm not going to stick around. I'll just leave and not come back as long as he's in the picture. In the meantime, May has been making a huge deal out of the whole thing, crying and acting all upset to anyone who will listen. Even June, her own sister, got fed up and told her to cut it out. Their mom defends May, saying she's just a sensitive and lonely kid, but honestly, I don't see how that's suddenly become my problem to deal with. I've got my own life, and I can't be responsible for making someone else happy, especially when they're making things so difficult for me. Next story. Am I the jerk for asking my in-laws to choose between me and a daughter they never had? So here's the deal. I've been married to my husband for 9 years now. He's 38 and I'm a bit younger. But ever since we got together, there's been this ongoing drama with a woman named Sally. Sally used to be super close to my husband, like best friends close. But things got weird after my husband and I started dating. Sally didn't take it well when we became a couple. She started sending me really mean messages, saying stuff like, I stole him from her and that our relationship was toxic. It was super uncomfortable and made me feel really unwelcome. A few years into our marriage, Sally went through a tough time. She split from her husband and immediately turned to my husband for support. I tried to be understanding, but then we found out she had been lying about a lot of the things that she said caused her divorce. When we moved back to the area and learned the truth, I had to confront her. I told her straight up that I didn't appreciate being lied to, but Sally didn't stop there. She started spreading rumors about me, saying that I was in love with her ex-husband and that's why I was taking his side. That was just too much for me. It felt like she was trying to make me look bad to everyone. Now, here's where it gets tricky. My in-laws are involved, and I felt like I had to ask them to make a tough choice. Either they support me, their son's wife, or they side with Sally, a woman who has caused so much trouble and isn't even part of the family. It's been a super stressful situation because I don't want to be the bad guy here. I just want to live my life without all this drama that Sally keeps bringing into it. So, after a lot of drama with Sally, who used to be really close to my husband, I decided I needed some peace. I talked to my husband's mom, basically my mother-in-law, and told her I didn't want to have anything to do with Sally anymore. For about a year, things were pretty quiet, and I didn't have to deal with Sally at all, which was nice. But then, my mother-in-law started pushing me to get over the whole Sally situation. She wanted me to come back to family events, even if Sally was going to be there. I was trying to be cool about it, so I said, okay, I'll come to these things, but I'm not going to hang out with Sally. I'll be there, but I'm not going to talk to her. It seemed like as soon as I agreed to that, Sally somehow found out I'd be around again. She started sending messages to my husband, saying she missed their old friendship and stuff. It felt like we were back to square one. Then, out of nowhere, I got this really mean email from someone I didn't know. It said some pretty nasty stuff. At first, I thought it was just some random person being mean online, but we did a little detective work. We found out the email came from the same area where Sally lives. Plus, it mentioned things only someone who really knew me would know, like details from my private Facebook group, and even used my first and middle name. It was super creepy, and honestly, Sally was the only person I could think of who would do something like that. So, I decided it was time for another serious talk with my husband's parents. I sat down with my mother-in-law and father-in-law and explained the whole email situation. I told them I wanted to keep my distance from Sally for good. It was a big decision, but I needed them to understand that I couldn't have someone so negative and mean in my life, especially someone who would go as far as sending hateful emails. It was important for me to stand my ground and make sure my in-laws knew I was serious about not wanting any contact with Sally. So, things got really intense with the whole Sally situation. After getting that mean email and deciding I didn't want Sally anywhere near my life, not even by accident, I had a big talk with my husband's parents, my in-laws. It got to the point where we basically had to lay it all out for them. We told them they had to choose who they wanted around at family get-togethers. It was either me or Sally, but both of us couldn't be there. It was a tough spot to be in, but things couldn't go on like they were. My mother-in-law, though, she really wanted things to go back to how they were before all the drama. She kept saying she wished my husband and Sally could be friends again. She thought that would magically fix everything, even though I was totally not okay with being around Sally. I tried explaining to her, again, all the nasty stuff Sally had done and said to me. But my mother-in-law just didn't want to believe it. She kept saying that Sally was like a daughter to her, that she was family, and she couldn't imagine Sally doing anything wrong. As for my father-in-law, he didn't even want to talk about it. Whenever we tried to bring up what was going on, he'd just leave the room. He didn't want to listen to anything bad about Sally, no matter what. So there I was, feeling totally stuck and wondering if I was the one being unreasonable here. It felt like I was in a no-win situation, trying to protect myself from someone who was clearly causing trouble, but also not wanting to upset my husband's family. It was a lot to deal with, and I couldn't help but question if I was the one causing all the problems by standing up for myself. Last story. Am I the jerk for defending my grandmother's decision to put me in her will and life insurance as main beneficiary? So, I'm 30 years old, and I've always had this special bond with my grandma. Even when my aunts and cousins were living with her, she and I had our own special time together. This connection started because my own mom, her daughter, wasn't really there for me when I needed her. But as I grew up, my grandma and I discovered we had a ton of things in common. When I was 16, I decided to become legally independent, and my grandma was right there cheering me on, supporting me through everything. Once I was on my own feet, I made sure to help my grandma out any way I could. She has trouble seeing, which means she can't drive. And especially after my grandpa passed away, she really needed the extra help. So, I did whatever she needed, like going grocery shopping for her, doing yard work, and giving her house a good deep clean. Even though we're a big family, none of my other relatives, not even her own kids or my cousins, stepped up to help her out like I did. Not too long ago, my grandma had a serious accident. It was so bad she needed surgery, and we almost lost her. Thankfully, she's back home now and getting better, but she needs a lot more help than she did before, so she decided it was time to make some changes to her will. Originally, her will was set up so that half of her money and stuff would go to her 3 children, and the other half would be split among me, my sibling, and my 4 cousins. But after everything that's happened, my grandma made a big change. She decided to leave about 80% of everything she has to me and my kids, and the rest of the family would share the remaining 20%. So, after my grandma decided to change her will, giving me and my kids about 80% of what she has, and leaving the rest to be split among the other family members, my family got super mad. My mom and I had just started to fix our relationship, but now she's so upset she won't even talk to me. My aunt is really angry too. She calls me every day, saying I tricked my grandma, who she thinks is too old and weak to make her own decisions. My aunt even went as far as to call Adult Protective Services on me, claiming I'm stealing from my grandma. But I keep saying that my grandma knew exactly what she was doing when she changed her will. It was completely her choice. Now, there's more to the story. I recently got some money from a settlement for child support that was supposed to come from my biological dad. My family thinks I somehow took this money unfairly, which should have gone to my mom instead. They're using this situation, plus the whole thing with my grandma's will, to say I'm just out to get money from my family members. But here's the thing. I received the child support directly because my mom wasn't taking care of me. I was neglected and ended up in foster care before I decided to become legally independent at 16. Through all of this, my grandma was the only one who really stood up for me. She wanted to take me in when I was younger, but couldn't because of her own health issues. So am I really the bad guy here for accepting what my grandma wants to give me, especially considering everything we've been through together?